So I'd like to take a moment of your time and recap over the last week's thriller in the Vaticanus. The Donald and a rope-a-dope against the Pope. Who's it gonna be? It was played out to be a big climactic. No, what happened here? They kissed and made up? Isn't that interesting? That was actually on a wall painted in Rome before the event. But Donald brought his kids and they all behaved really well. They were wonderful. Everybody got along. They stuck some gum under the seats, but hey, kids are kids. And here's the Pope and Donald just meeting. Notice the checkered floor in the back. Symbolism. And, before that, he went to Saudi Arabia, the President of the United States, the strongest country in the world, the greatest, most powerful man in the world. And he went with his Saudi Arabia buddies, all the rich men, human rights abusers, wealth by oil extraction and child abuse. And who's to say we're any different? But, you know, what do they want to do when they get together? The Donald and Saudis of immense wealth who had all the guys who flew into the buildings on 9/11. I think there were 17 to 21, they said, is the official story. And they want to go around and hold a ball, a globe ball. They all want to walk around. Look at this. Everybody, all men it looks like, except for Melina and White, all want to go around and they want to hold balls. Interesting sidebar to testify. It comes from holding your testicles. You used to have to hold your testicles to testify, and that's why only men could testify in the original courts. But then they celebrate putting their hands around some balls. Isn't that great? And then the Donald doing his worship, he goes in and puts on his yarmulke like a good little boy, and he pledges allegiance to Israel, so everybody will think it's Israel, and that, that'll be that. But I want to bring attention to the colors here. You've got Melina in white, and you've got Trump's daughter in white, and Trump's wearing the yarmulke in black, which is very symbolic, which we'll get here right into here right now. So in ancient times, back to ancient Asia, the picture was worth 10,000 words, not 1,000 words as it's been said around now. The Egyptians on their pyramids, which still stand today 3,000, 10,000 years later, used imagery, because it's symbols, icons, images, gestures, those kind of things that rule the world. And if you know how to look for it, you can see how it goes. And so here we get into the different colors and who's wearing the yarmulke, or is it a Jews who are wearing the zucchetti? I mean, here we go between the Jews and the Roman Catholics. Who started who owns who? Well, it's very obvious once you get into it who owns who. So here's the Pope Francis, the first Jesuit in 600 years wearing a yarmulke or a zucchetti, depending on who you're talking to. But this is part of the zucchetto, is part of the uniform of the Roman Catholic clergy. Its name comes from zucchetta, the diminutive of zucca, gourd, or by extension head. Zucchetti is only a nickname for the undersized hat, which is officially called a pallialis. Back in 1290, a fresco, Francis Assisi, shown the cardinals wearing them. So the Pope and only Pope is white. Cardinals wear scarlet ones. Bishops and other such figures of similar rank wear violet zucchetti, and lower-ranking priests wear black ones if they wear them at all. So Trump is wearing a blue, which is a color of the Knights of Columbus, which we'll get into a little while. And we'll also get into a one world government, which we'll get into in a little bit here as well. And here we have the happy family with the Pope, who looks really happy too. Notice they're dressed in black. They've got yarmulkes on, all of them, and they're wearing the black, and the Pope's wearing the white, but they're not very happy here. Please note the Masonic pillars in the background and the black and white floor, all Masonic symbolism. Here you see Trump and his wife Melina in Israel. They're wearing the yarmulkes, all of them, except for her. She's the one wearing white without the yarmulke, which I find very interesting. She's always in dark shades. She's hidden. She's always hiding her eyes for some reason, but it's very telling that she's wearing white and she's not wearing a yarmulke for whatever reasons that it may be. So I want to recommend a book by Bill Hughes, and it gives you an overall, it's a very short book, but it's excellent, The Secret Terrorists, and gets all into the history of the Jesuits in the United States. And I'm going to get into a little bit how the Jesuits founded the current order we live under and how they rule by their secret ways. We are programmable. That's the nature of the human being, Mark Passio. So if they can program us, they can tell us and get us to do whatever they want. Mind control has existed since the dawn of time. Only the methods have changed. John Rappaport. I also suggest that you look at my highlights of my notes about the Jesuits throughout the history and do your research, because this is an occulted truth. This has been hidden from our world and from our legend and our history. The Jesuits say, we declare, say, define, and pronounce that it is absolutely necessary for the salvation of every human creature to be the subject of the Roman pontiff. Every human creature to be the subject of the Roman pontiff. This is Pope Boniface VIII back in 1306, he said that. Okay, here's the list of presidents belonging to Freemasons and Knights of Malta, and I'll continue the list in the notes here. But recognize the names, folks. They're all members of these secret societies. We're not privy to their secrets, and so mostly all male. The Freemasons say, I, the Masonic, do hereby swear that I will always conceal and never reveal any secrets. You can cut out my throne, you can cut me ear to ear, my tongue torn out by the roots, my body buried in the sands of the sea at the low water mark. Now look at all these secret societies. These are all under the Jesuit control in the 13 Zoroastrian bloodline satanic families of old Rome. Look at these all. Most of you, almost all of you, I would say, have never heard of most of these secret societies. Yet these are the ones that rule our world. It's a big club, and we're not in it, as George Carlin used to say, but these names are all controlling our world behind the scenes. The Trumps, the Obamas, the Merkels, the show. That's just show. That's just theater. That's the puppet that they want us to see. They're all pledge allegiance to the Pope, to the white Pope who pledge allegiance to the black Pope. But they all are under the guise of, this is the New York Archbishop, Dolan, and here he's running between Trump and Hillary before the selections of who's going to be the next one to represent the falsehoods of a presidency. And here you see Reagan and Carter. They pledge allegiance to these guys or they never get into office. Here we see Nixon and Kennedy apparently went away and wanted to bring home troops from Vietnam and start his own currency, so they took him out. So let's get into a little more about who runs the world from behind the scenes, the real men in black. Here you can see the World Monarch Crown at the top, the Council of 13, Committee of 300, all the think tanks that you may or may not have heard of, the World Financial Council, the money, the Rothschilds and all that. And then we have all our corporations, dead entities, world population control through religions, governments, and social medias. Abraham Lincoln, if the Protestants in the North and South could learn what their priests, nuns, and monks who daily land on our shores under the pretext of preaching their religion were doing in our schools and hospitals as emissaries of the Pope and other despots of Europe to undermine our institutions and alienate the hearts of our people from our Constitution and laws and prepare to reign over anarchy here as they have done in Ireland, Mexico, Spain, and wherever there are people that wish to be free, they would unite in taking power out of their hands. The Jesuits never forsake. All right, and here's the Jesuit sign. And they do have families that are over. And one thing I want to note here is the Black Jesuit Order, then the Vatican. The Black Pope is 6 degrees above the Vatican's white Pope. Then you have the Supreme Council 33, Supreme Order of Knights of Malta, and all their secret societies as well. Bohemian Club, Council of Foreign Relations. They're all underneath the Pope and the 13 Zoroastrian bloodlines of the Illuminati, which you can read here. And this is the Jesuit oath, folks. This is what they say. I furthermore promise and declare that I will, when opportunity present, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do so, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls. These are priest folks taking these vows. These are priests in robes that are professing Roman Catholic faith saying these things. I will do this in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poison cup. That's how they got Lincoln. That's how they got Alberto Rivera. The strangulating cord, the steel of the poignard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, and authority of the person or persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so by any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith. And you got to read the rest of this because it's gross. It's terrible. It's ugly. But these people believe this. They take their vows. The Jesuits were founded on the Company of Jesus on Assumption Day, August 15th, 1534, also known as traditional feast day of Lucifer in 70 AC, in a secret ceremony in the crypt of the chapel of St. Denis of Ignatius in Loyola. Using their unenabled powers, the Jesuits established a counter-education movement to the Protestants. And it goes on. The first Pope of the Americas, Francis, is also the first Jesuit who became sovereign pontiff. This is Pope Francis. It was the goal of the Jesuits to rule the world. The election of Pope Francis on March 14th, 2013, the traditional Day of Blood and the ancient birthday of the false god Mithra. Jesuits are bound by oath not to seek higher office in the Roman Catholic Church, and now one of them is elected to the highest office, Bishop of Rome, Vicar of Christ, Pontifex Maximus. Yet despite their prominence at 18,000 members, they are the Church's largest religious order. Jesuits have a complicated history. With the first Jesuit Pope, things just got a lot more complicated. Okay? The Jesuits are famous for their role in the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition was originally overseen by members of the Dominican order, though members of the Jesuit Brotherhood were involved later. The Inquisition was famous for its use of torture to elicit confessions from accused heretics. It was believed that confessions extracted after torture must be true, an idea that was later dispelled. Yet we in the United States, hey, rendition, torture, no problem. We're the same. We're going to get it. The Jesuits created by the papal bloodline Farnesy during the reign of Farnesy Pope Paul III. Don Francis Borgia was the great-grandson of Pope Alexander VI and co-founder of the Jesuits. On his mother's side, descended. So I want to get into who runs the show, who's the big overlord, who the they are. And here's a good pyramid structure. It's got the world monarchy at the top. They do have the 13 families at the top, and then there's the World Monarch Crown, Council of 13, Committee of 300, then all the think tanks, the Bilderberg Club of Rome, United Nations, Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission. Below them is the money financing, the Bank of International Settlements, the tax revenue, interest revenue. They all go to the corporations. The World Resource Controls is based on all the corporations around the world, or corporations, corpse meaning dead. Religions control, government control, media control, and then down us is the little people down below at the bottom of the pyramid, as Kissinger calls the useless eaters. Abraham Lincoln. If the Protestants of the North and South could learn what the priests, nuns, and monks who daily land on our shores under the pretext of preaching their religion were doing in our schools and hospitals as emissaries of the Pope and other despots of Europe to undermine our institutions and alienate the hearts of our people from our Constitution and laws and prepare a reign of anarchy here, as they have done so in Ireland, Mexico, Spain, and wherever there are people that wish to be free, they would unite in taking power out of their hands. The Jesuits never forsake. Washington, that was from Lincoln. Now here's another depiction of the pyramid, and you can see the black pope is 6 degrees above. They got the gray pope, the Jesuit council. These are the families, the 13 satanic bloodline families, and below you see the orders below. It's layered on layered on layered. Here's the 13 Zoroastrian bloodlines of the family, and here's a quote from the Egyptian dynasty from George Washington. It is my opinion that if the liberties of this country, United States of America, are destroyed, it will be by the subtlety of the Roman Catholic Jesuit priests, for they are the most crafty, dangerous enemies to civil and religious liberty. They have instigated most of the wars in Europe. George Washington. Now here's the fourth vow, and you can read this. I'll put it in the show notes. But everyone should be aware why the Jesuits are so dangerous. This is their proclamation. They are beholden to the Pope. Pope is closest to Jesus, so whatever the Pope says, they will do. This is their pledge. This is the fourth vow. Quote, I furthermore promise and declare that I will, when opportunity present, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do so, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth. Exterminate them from the face of the whole earth. And that I'll spare neither age, sex, or condition. And that I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up their stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against a wall, in order to annihilate them forever from the execrable race. From their execrable race. These are priests taking these vows, folks. These are the ones you see in church. These are the ones wearing the robes and paying holy homage to the poor and saying we've got to help them. Okay, let's go on. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use a poisoned cup, the strangling cord, the steel of the poignard, or the leaden bullet, which they used on Lincoln and Kennedy. Regardless of the honor of rank, dignity, and authority of the person or persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so by any agent of the Pope or the superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus. Can it be any more clear what they want to do to us, folks? They are set up all around the world, and they report to the Black Pope. Black Pope reports to the 13 families. The Jesuits were founded initially as the Company of Jesus on Assumption Day, August 15th, 1534, also known as traditional feast day for Lucifer, since 70 A.D. in a secret ceremony in the crypt of the Chapel of St. Denis by Ignatius of Loyola. Since their founding, Jesuits have consistently offended people, but there's a barricade in the street. There's going to be a Jesuit on both sides of that barricade. History of Georgetown, Professor. Georgetown, the Jesuit school, founded 6 months before Washington, D.C. by John Carroll, who donated land to Washington, D.C., which previously Washington, D.C. was named Rome, Maryland, and the Potomac was named the Tiber, and there's 7 hills in United States, D.C., just like there's 7 hills in Rome, including Capitoline Hill. Not a coincidence, folks. Okay. Now we got the first Jesuit pope in history. First Pope of the Americas, Francis, is the first Jesuit who became sovereign pontiff. It is the goal of Jesuits to rule the world. The election of Francis on the 14th of 2013, the traditional Day of Blood, get what's going on here, folks, and the ancient birthday of the false god Mithra, Jesuits are bound by oath not to seek higher office in the Roman Catholic Church, yet now one of them's in the highest office, the Bishop of Rome, the Vicar of Christ, the Pontifex Maximus. Yet despite their prominence and 18,000 members, they are the Church's largest religious order. They have a complicated history, no doubt. For the greater glory of God, they pledge. Okay, the Jesuits are famous for their role in the Spanish Inquisition. The Inquisition was originally overseen by members of the Dominican order, though members of the Jesuit Brotherhood were involved later. The Inquisition was famous for the use of torture to elicit confessions from accused heretics. It was believed that confessions extracted after torture must be true. An idea later dispelled, but resurrected with Bush and Cheney, and still today we torture like crazy and we bomb brown people like there's no tomorrow. Maybe there's not. The Jesuits were created by the papal bloodlines Farnese during the reign of Farnese Pope Paul III. Borgia was the great-grandson of Pope Alexander VI and co-founder of the Jesuits. His mother's side was descended from King Ferdinand of Aragon. All right, Rome is in control of the drug trade. Who wants to know this? The Vatican controls all the drug trade, all the heroin, all the opium, and all the cocaine, everything going around Colombia. Colombia has a concordat with the Pope. Hitler had a concordat. Mussolini, Franco, they went to set up a concordat here with Reagan in 1984. Colombia has a concordat. Do you think drugs running out of Colombia with a country that hasn't concorded with Rome is not controlled by Rome? If Rome didn't want the drug trade, it wouldn't be there. It's run by high mafia members out of the country of Colombia, subject to the Jesuit general. And the Jesuit general ran the opium trade a couple centuries ago out of China, the silk trade, the pearl trade. The movie Shogun is but a scratching surface of the Jesuit black ships that trafficked in all the silk and pearls and gold and opals they could pull out of East, including opium. This is the true world power system right now. The Roman Catholic Military Order, the Southern Military Order of St. John, the Hospitalier of Jerusalem, the Rhodes in Malta, the Knights of Malta wielding unchecked power behind the scenes. Centuries of high-level Satanists practicing ancient Babylonian, Egyptian-style mass human child sacrifices to Moloch. That's the owl that you see in Bohemian Grove, directed by superior father generals, black popes, and general councils, Jesuit provincials, and coadjutors throughout the world. This is the true power behind the Vatican, papacy, and Holy See, Roman Curia, sworn to uphold the bloody oath of the fourth vow, which I read earlier. Jesuits, formerly monks, now masquerade in the guise of priests. Plain black suits and white clergy command popes, cardinals, and archbishops. In devout service to their dark overlord, they're responsible for inquisitions, genocidal campaigns which continue to present day. They created the conflicts in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, countless political assassinations, and the current crusade against the Islamic world, and the coming World War III, all Jesuits-inspired plots. See Albert Pike, written back at the turn of the 20th century, for his prediction about World War III that is coming through today about the attack on Islam. It was the Jews aligned with the Pope who published the Protocols of Zion. Now, this is another thing to blame the Jews so that the heat is off of the Jesuits. They're the ones in the government. They're the ones behind professional sports, Pittsburgh Steelers, Knights of Malta, Detroit Lions, Knights of Malta, and so on and so on. Walt Disney, a 33-degree Freemason. I list a little later all the different Freemasons and Knights of Malta members, and you'll recognize many of these names. And here's your Mr. Pope Francis with Joe Biden, his handler. I mean, his confidant who watches Obama giving all the secret societies. Here's the Al Moloch look, the Bohemian look. Before was the 666, and here's Baphomet, the devil, giving it with another. And just so happy to be showing these hand signs of allegiance to the devil, allegiance to Satan, allegiance to Lucifer. Yet everybody loves this guy. And then you got Trump doing all his hand signs with, I guess, the guy from Metallica doing the Baphomet sign. This is all part of their club, folks. They're all just serving their masters, which is the Pope, the Vatican, the Jesuits, and the 13 satanic bloodlines. They're all sick people. They all have to do very, very ugly things in order to get into power. And now they're making it okay for sexual deviations, and now they brought in Eric Prince of Blackwater's sister to run the education system. Blackwater is the military armed private army for these guys in power. They use the Congressional Medal of Honors and they turn them upside down. The Congressional Medals for our war heroes, they turn upside down, which is a Luciferian sign, folks. That's Baphomet. That's the devil. They're doing it right in our faces. It's right in front of us. And you've heard of Pizzagate and all the rest going on. This has been going on for a very long time. It's not Trump. It's not Bush. It's not Obama. It's all of them. There's no difference between these people. You will see that over time, if you look, there's Aleister Crowley, the beast, the great beast, and on a shirt of Obama. And here you see Obama with a photograph for Terry Richardson, a photograph to the perverts of the world. I mean, this guy is satanic. He's devilish. He's beyond anything that anybody would want in any sane way to deal with. Yet this guy is buddying up with the future president of the United States. It's part of this great disease of our culture that we won't look at the sickness of the world and the sickness of the people in power that are right in front of us, and we continually to talk about elections and voting and all this kind of crap when it's just a big perverted story. This is all about just how they control everybody, and it's all done by the pontiff, by the Black Pope, where they encourage pedophiliism. They encourage sexual ritual abuses, blood sacrifices, but it's a secret. We can't tell anybody what is really going on. And it's a great perversion of our society that the wealth is controlled by the very few, but the Rothschilds are owned. They're owned by they're the Korthoff Judens that are owned by the Pope and the Vatican as well. As long as they do service to them, they stay in power. That's the way it works. Putin on the same team, and here he's with a Russian Orthodox, buddy of his that's supposed to be at odds, but then you see the Pope down with the same guy down in Antarctica, and this is the skull and bones that they're sitting in front of. They don't do this by accident. This is skull and bones. This is the 322 Club of Yale. This is where Bush and those guys went to. It's all part of the same scene that we're seeing around the world of these guys being supposedly opposites. Putin's supposed to be the bad guy, yet they're all meeting the Pope. They're all paying homage and going and doing what they have to do. Trump is a Jesuit. He went to Fordham, and then he went to the Jesuit Apologist School, the University of Pennsylvania. Here you see Pence, the man next to the power. He's the one that runs the show. He's the head Roman Catholic guy. Here's the Knights of Columbus with Jeb Bush, and here's Pence, being the guy in charge. Trump had to put him in power. And here's the guy in charge for Obama. It's always the person next to the power. Biden's the Roman Catholic pretending to be the dumb guy when in fact he's watching every move for Obama to make sure he stays the course. Obama's intelligence was comprised solely of Jesuits. Georgetown is the military, Emerson Foreign Service School is where Georgetown gets all the generals to run all the wars. They come out of Georgetown and the Jesuit schools. Obama's just a sock puppet for these people. And here's just a throw in. Here's Joe Biden's son, Bo Bridges, that died of cancer, I believe. And I want to take a look just for a second and say, are these guys related? I mean, look at the Pope and look at Bo Biden. I mean, these guys look almost exactly alike. And again, I just ask that you go back to this website here on my Taboo blog or A Plain Truth and read the stories about the Jesuits. Bone up about the history. Bone up about who is really running the show, the trilateral between the three city-states that are beholden to no other country and run our currency, run our finances, run our military, and run our religion. It's City of London, Washington, D.C. What year was Washington, D.C. founded? No one knows. It was originally named Rome, Maryland. This is what Lincoln had to say. I feel more and more every day that it's against the Americans on the South alone I am fighting. It's more against the Pope of Rome, his perfidious Jesuits. This is how they had Lincoln murdered, and the Pope comes over to the United States, and what does he do? He uses the lectern of Abraham Lincoln from which they murdered him. This is how these guys roll. They are sick. And I ask you to Google the trial of John and Mary Surratt, S-U-R-R-A-T-T. These are the Roman Catholics convicted for the trial and assassination of Abraham Lincoln. You don't hear that story. So again, these guys are playing us like, we're against Putin and Putin's against us and we got these conflicts. But let's get a little bit into who Putin is and what the history of Russia is before we start delving into all the rest of this stuff that, we were at war with Russia and that Putin's the bad guy. And, that's not true at all. They all have Jesuit handlers. They all have their power base behind them. And as you'll see right here, it's been going on for a very, very long time. So, as I said, it's not the person in power that you hear about and see. It's the person next to them that is really the handler for the person in charge. They're always right next to them. Stalin was handled by the Jesuits, as we'll get into. Heinrich Himmler, the self-appointed Black Pope, he assassinated or tried to assassinate the Black Pope at the time during World War II. He was the handler for Hitler. Joseph Biden, the Roman Catholic, handler for Obama. And now Pence is the handler for Trump. They're all on the same team. All right, one way you know that we're all in one world government is that your debt follows you everywhere. There used to be 6 countries that were not members of the Bank of International Settlement out of Geneva run by the Rothschilds. Home to the Rothschilds, secret bank accounts, treasury of the Vatican. Switzerland was never been invaded during World War II because they're a, quote, a neutral country. Now, the 6 banks used to include Iraq, Libya, and Afghanistan, but now the only 3 banks that are not central to the Bank of International and clear through the Bank of International Settlement are Syria, North Korea, and Iran. Wonder why we're at war with those people. I also encourage you, I'm not going to get into it, read the Georgia Guidestones in Elberton County, erected in 1991 by a man representing himself as R.C. Christian, calling for the reduction of the earth by population by 96%. Didn't give a date, though. All right, Joseph Stalin, born Yosef Vissarionovich Zugashvili, better known by his adopted name Joseph Stalin, meaning made of steel. He was born to influential Catholic parents, graduated 1892, first in his class at age 14 from the Orthodox Seminary of Tiflis, a Jesuit institution trained by a Jesuit priest. Jesuits remained in Russian territory after the order was banned. They maintained control, including the seminary. Stalin himself humbly admitted the Jesuit controlled the institution in his famous interview with Emil Ludwig. But do you admit the Jesuits have good points? Stalin, yes, they are systematic and persevering and working to achieve sordid ends, but their principal method is spying, prying, worming their way into people's souls and outraging their feelings. Stalin's closest friend was a fellow classmate, Krikor Bedros Agajanian, the future Grigory Pierre Cardinal Agagianan, a powerful and ruthless Catholic cardinal who went on to control the death camps of Siberia under Stalin's rule. Lenin, like most of the Bolsheviks, regarded Stalin as a double agent of the Jesuits. Folks, we talk about the Holocaust and the Jesuits and being anti-Semite and talking about what's been reduced from 6 million down to now 1 million or less of Jews being killed in the Holocaust. Stalin killed 20 to 40 million of his own people, and it's not even brought up. You don't hear any Holocaust talking about Stalin. For that matter, you don't hear the Holocaust talking about in the United States either, about what we've done to the brown people of Iraq and Afghanistan and how many we've killed for their weapons of mass destruction. That did not exist. And the United States is not out of the, we have 180 military bases around 196 countries. We come up with these massive lies to go invade country after country, and here's the general, the man that's saying that it is, we know for sure, our greatest intelligence is telling us, and then here's Bibi up there saying they're going to blow everything up, and we all drink the Kool-Aid and believe it again, living fear. But there were no weapons of mass destruction, and millions of Iraqis have died, including depleted uranium, which is causing generational death to go. And where is the outrage, folks? It's our tax dollars and nobody says boo. On to Castro. Castro wasn't the best student. He was a troublemaker. He taught in 2 other schools. Castro was also educated by the Jesuits. He attended 3 Jesuit institutions, College La Salle and Colegio Dolores. He then attended Jesuit University Preparatory School. He called General Studies at the Colegio Belen. And upon graduating from law school, he joined the Orthodox, a Christian Democratic Party. European readers will instantly recognize this as the Roman Catholic Party. The first Christian Democrat Party was begun in Italy under Pius XI in 1920. By the time of the Cuban Revolution in 58-59, the Jesuits in Latin America were going fully Marxist-Leninist ideology. Malachi Martin, a former priest, documents that in 1963 the Jesuits became fanatic, left-wing communists under Pedro Arrupe, himself a Marxist, and a great advocate of Fidel Castro. From Martin's book, quote, The Jesuits and the Betrayal of the Roman Catholic Church, How the Jesuits Proceeded to Foment Communist Revolutions Throughout Latin America, Africa, with Castro's aid. They play both sides of the game. So the Vatican wealth reaches well into the United States. Here we see a picture of Jeb Bush, brother of President George Bush's and father, and also governor of Florida, with his Knights of Columbus buddies. You can see him here. He's kneeling down in front of the Pope, paying homage. This is their image, the Knights of Columbus. You'll notice the Maltese cross in the background. And here you'll notice the Lycor and the Axeman Hench. This is also on the Congressional House where the President gives the State of the Union on each side. And these rods here are caning rods and an Axeman's Hench. And in the old days, the Roman Empire would pass a law and they'd go around with these Lycors, and if you did not like the new law, they'd either cane you or cut off your head. And as you can see here, the Knights of Columbus, you also see FDR sitting there with all his buddies, the Shriners, super happy to be part of these secret clubs and secret societies that run our world today. But what I want to really show you is the wealth of the Knights of Columbus. Their financial shows wealth and influence, no doubt. About 2 million men call themselves Knights of Columbus. Reported revenues of $2.2 billion in 2015, folks. And they use their influences here. Would understand this organization's leaders have become more powerful and influential in ways unimaginable in 1882, allegedly when it was founded. For more than a decade and a half, under the leadership of a former political operative, Knights of Columbus have used their enormous wealth to influence the direction of the church, underwriting think tanks and news outlets, while gaining entry to some of the highest levels of decision-making in the church. So as Pope Francis pontificates, like all the other popes before him, about helping the poor and taking care of the poor, when the Vatican is the richest country in the world, you can see how it trickles down here. The quote from Francis is what everybody sees. Hey, I'm a champion of the poor. Oh, but he had to fire a German bishop who spent $43 million to remodel his pad. But it's right in line with what's going on in the United States. Timothy Dolan, the controller of presidents of the United States there for years now, the Archbishop of New York, has found that 10 of 34 active archbishops have buildings worth more than $1 million. Cardinal Timothy Dolan packs a 15,000 square foot mansion in Manhattan, in the priciest neighborhood in the city, worth at least $30 million. But then we go to Cardinal Francis George, got a pretty fancy crib himself. He's got 19 chimneys. It gets cold there when you're pontificating and you're trying to help the poor. It sits on 1.7 prime acres in the ritzy Gold Coast neighborhood and is worth $14.3 million as is. So these guys talk one thing, preach one thing, yet practice something else, and that's lifestyles of the rich and priestly. And in closing here, I just want to reemphasize the sheer hypocrisy that the Vatican and the Pope present to the world as being the saviors and looking out for the poor and trying to take care of the poor and the needy, when in fact they are far and away the wealthiest country on earth that control more land and more souls than anyone else. They have immense wealth under the Vatican. They could sell just a few of their paintings and make tons of money to help with the poor. Yet do they ever do this? No. They own the gold. They own the bankers. They own the states. They own the governments. They own it all. And it's time we all wake up and we stop supporting the madness and try and wake others up as well. For until we get critical mass, we are never going to be able to change what has to be changed. They have designs for us, folks, and it's not very good. Please bone up on the Black Pope. Learn about who is really in charge. Learn about who really makes the rules in this world. Learn about the Knights of Malta and their Maltese cross and how you see it on everything from Christopher Columbus to Switzerland. You see the Red Cross. Learn about all the secret societies that you've never heard of. Learn about their memberships and what they control above all. And also notice that when you see the Pope, you'll also see the Knights of Malta and the Jesuits right next to them. Those are the ones that are in power. Learn about Queen Elizabeth, the Grand Dame of the Knights of Malta. She's a member of the club, and we're not in it. Learn about Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu, supposedly great guys that are helping the earth, and they're secret society members as well. Learn about all the Shriners of Hoover and FDR and all the rest of these guys playing on the same team for the church. Learn about the symbols, about what they mean. Fordham University, what was that? As a Jesuit school where Donald Trump went to. And learn why nothing ever gets better. Learn how we got our morals wrong, where we go and bomb people and kick people off their lands while having presidents that have wives in the office that are sexually deviant, if you want to call it that. And learn about why Time Magazine and everybody else supports the Pope at all costs. And please look at this list again. Look at all the players that are part of the secret societies over history. Study it and you'll learn. We've all been lied to for a very, very long time, and the lies have to end, and it starts with education. So hopefully this video doc has helped provide you with education. Sorry if I went too long, but I wanted to cover it in extents about who is in power and who the they are, and you can better understand why nothing changes and nothing's going to change until we all educate ourselves, and then we educate others. We speak out our truths about who is really in power and really in charge. It's a club and we're not in it, and they have designs for our destruction. Google silent weapons for quiet wars and learn about the vaccines. Learn about the geoengineering. Learn about the toxic foods they won't even say. Learn about synthetic meats. Learn about all the toxicity going on in our world. Learn about Alzheimer's increasing by 55% and jumping through the roof. As people are dying earlier, their minds are going from all the toxicity in our nervous systems and in our brains being sprayed from above, consumed in our foods, and digested into our bodies without our knowledge, without our consent. But that makes Wall Street go higher. That makes vaccine companies and big pharma richer. It's all by design, folks, and it's all by design. So please wake up. Please tell your friends. Please educate yourself, and we'll catch you in the next video doc, and thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I really do.